David, can you hear me here? Okay, great.
Just 2 days. Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome all. And welcome to day 2 of WITI's 28th Annual Women in Technology Summit, being brought to you from all over the world to all over the world. And we are so glad that you're joining us. My name is Marian Cook. I'm your master or maybe mistress of ceremonies. I'm a digital transformation consultant and educator at 2U. And you can find my bio and social media links on the speaker summit page, and along with all of the information regarding the other speakers that we have here today. To recap, the speakers we had yesterday were phenomenal. So I want to direct you back to that speaker page, and when the videos become available, take advantage of that and listen to these people. They had some phenomenal expertise to share, and we're going to do it again this time. So our summit is focused on saving the planet through digital transformation. And you have come here today to be part of the solution, to be transformative, to use or develop your skills to save the world, and to learn how you can make a difference. So let's do exactly that. Now, we've arranged the program in 5 parts, just to give you an overview of what the session will look like today. We have astounding keynotes showcasing exceptional women worldwide who are tackling climate change and accelerating sustainability. We have global networking sessions so you can connect and share with other professional women from around the world. This is something new for me that I hadn't done before, and I found it very valuable. I'm sure you will too. We've got breakout panels and workshops on tech updates, as well as leadership and mentoring. So we're taking care of both halves of the brain, left and right. And then again, to get real personal, to have that intimacy that sometimes is lacking online, we have coaching circles where small groups meet with coaches to discuss professional development topics. So a nice mix there. And the day ends by visiting our company showcases in the exhibit hall. Now, our first speaker is Pooja Munshi, and she is the head of web at the United Nations Environment Program Digital Transformation Task Force. An amazing background we've brought here for you today. We need to harness the power of the digital revolution while mitigating the risk, which will require unprecedented collaboration across government, companies, civil society, and more. The UN Environmental Protection Program is facing this challenge head on, as Pooja shares with us today from their office in Nairobi. So Pooja, welcome.
Thank you so much. I love the applause. Thank you so much. It is my pleasure. I'm speaking to you from Nairobi, Kenya. And I am going to share with you a little bit about what we at UN Environment Program are doing on environment, because that is the headline, right? That is our goal, to improve the environment. But digital transformation is the mechanism or the train that will help us to address these. Let me go ahead and share my screen. But I also, while we do that, I also want to, I hope you can see it. Can I get a thumbs up? Can you see my, okay, fantastic. All right, so I'm going to just quickly put this in presentation mode. If someone could let me know if they can see it. All clear, fantastic. Thank you, Marian. All right. And this is full screen for you, correct? Okay, fantastic. Let me get started.
No, we see the actual keynote. We don't see the presentation mode. You might want to just reshare that.
Let me try again. Is that better? Because sometimes there are issues with Zoom, so I just want to make sure. Can you see this?
If you just stop this screen share and then restart the share and pick the actual presentation, then that would be great. Thank you.
We can see it, but not in presentation mode. And now it seems to have frozen just a bit. This is what happens when you go global. So if our participants, our attendees hang on just 1 minute, it takes special magic to get someone this special from Nairobi.
I was seeing a really distorted view that caused me to say, that's the picture of the world we don't want. I don't know if you saw a really wacko view.
Again, does this work?
You know, we can see your slide. We don't see it in presentation mode, but we can see your slide. So let's not tempt the gods of Zoom. We
Now it's
got your
good.
picture.
That
Yep,
was
it looks
for a
good.
minute.
Okay, so is this good?
Perfect.
Does this work? Okay, great. All right, so my name is Pooja. I am the head of web and also a key part of the digital transformation agenda here in Nairobi. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing and how we would love your help, because it takes many, many of us to make this happen. So this is something that you all know. We are well into the fourth industrial revolution. It's a radical shift. You're seeing this all around you. It's changing the way we live, the way we work, and the way we even relate to one another, right? And so technology is just transforming the value that's coming out of products and services. And here are a couple of examples, right? Supply chains are being optimized to drive efficiency and agility so that your products are customized and delivered to you very quickly. Netflix, as you know, has moved that entire industry from blockbuster format, which is hardware, to software and digital formats, getting you your favorite movies on time whenever you want. And right, that use complex logistic networks. And companies are moving to smart, connected, autonomous products that collect a lot of data. But that's not all, because I think the digital revolution is transforming the systems, the large systems that influence our lives and behavior. For example, did you know that we are spending 4 hours plus on mobiles, and all of that behavior on our mobile is actually guided and nudged by algorithms? More than 4 billion people are connected today on social media, and 2 million of them are joining every day. In terms of economy, there's 2 billion digital buyers using e-commerce today. And in terms of technology, there are about 35 to 40 billion IoT, intelligence network devices and sensors, intelligence of things connected, that are capturing the way you move, the way you behave, and everything else in between. In terms of governance, this was an interesting fact that I found. 80% of countries are using some sort of e-governance tools. And all of this is getting fueled faster and more strong with hyperconnectivity, automation, algorithm decision-making. But let's bring back this entire conversation back into the environmental landscape. What we are seeing is that there are some positives and some negatives. So the positive side, and some of them I've already explained, is, of course, environmental values are being encoded into technology and algorithms. For example, Amazon now has a green badge for products that have gone through that exercise of providing sustainable products. You have incentives that are driving human behaviors. There's real-time planetary data intelligence being tracked. And there's a lot of people looking at what stakeholders, governments are doing on environmental solutions. You see the likes of Greta and youth all around the world. But on the other side, we have this red column that we also need to acknowledge. We are seeing hyperconsumption, meaning because of a super connected world, we have the button buy at our fingertips. We are looking at a lot of e-waste generation, and there is a lot of energy demand to meet our very hungry needs. And all the products that we use have a lot of metal and minerals that make up the composition of the devices. There are rebound effects, misinformation and polarization of information on the web. And we cannot forget the digital divide. While a lot of us are in the global north, the global south may not be getting that access to 5G and beyond, and therefore maybe there is a bit of an exclusion and disparity that we need to acknowledge. So basically, we as a collective community of 40 participants today are at a pivotal moment in human history. The digital revolution could be the single largest opportunity to really achieve system level change that are meeting the SDGs. We have a whole set of goals on the environment, the sustainable development goals, and we've not met them, and we're not on track to meet them by 2030. And a lot of it is due to the lack of data experts, lack of country level infrastructure. And we believe that the digital technology and capacity building could potentially solve that. But it also could be the largest risk. It could entrench business as usual, the way we're working, consuming, and really lead to the acceleration of and deteriorate our planet. So what we really need to do, and this is not just UNEP, it is every one of you in your role, is how do we harness this digital technology power while mitigating the risks? And this, like I said, will require collaboration from everyone, from governments to companies to civil societies, and even us as individuals, and the way we consume, the way we go out there and perform our daily tasks. So let's go into a little bit about how UNEP is addressing the challenges. For us, it's really about 3 pillars: climate, nature, and pollution. And so we want to harness the power of digital transformation to really accelerate and amplify the impact across these 3 focus areas and bring transparency, connectivity to the knowledge of our state of the planet. So these are 5 core missions. We are trying to create a digital ecosystem. Very often some countries have environmental data, but others don't or haven't put it up. It's behind closed doors. So we want to open it up, have regulations, policies, standards that really drive for a streamlined, seamless digital ecosystem that anyone can tap into and create this planetary environmental intelligence. The second is working with partners to drive supply chain transparency. So completely digitalize the value chains. So an example of this could be the digital product passports that we are working on, with EU leading it, where you as a consumer can ultimately see a product off the supermarket shelf and track it down to its source to verify what the carbon performance and the footprint was. Was it green? Was it really green? So you can see that entire value chain. Also, we want to nudge sustainability and make it a default. So really try to use algorithms, filters, activations, and help promote sustainable products and services. In terms of consumption, we want to, again, drive this concept of sustainability. So like I said, demand to access to sourcing, supply chains, understanding if a product is green or action you're doing is green enough are some of the things that we're working on with partners. And also aligning capital with climate. So we are working with investors and various financial partners to use data and analytics and performance to drive investing and risk analysis around, making them climate conscious. So I've talked a lot about what we are focusing on, but one thing we have to address is we can't do it all. Driving innovation, doing a technology innovation is not UNEP's forte. So we looked really hard at what are our core strengths, and our hope is to play to that. So our biggest core strength is to convene diverse stakeholders, to forge values, to have debates and conversations, and have an aligned framework and movement in that direction. We bridge the global south and global north and bring different stakeholders like civil society, private sector to really start harnessing digital innovation and piggybacking opportunities, as well as building capacity through shared learning. We are a trusted broker of data. The UNEP brand goes a long way. So we are a broker of the science when it comes to climate, nature, and pollution. And also we know, since we are the convener, we also work on co-innovating, testing, upscaling environmental technologies by bringing different partners together at the table. So we can be part of the process, we can be the matchmakers and make the innovation happen. Some of the digital technologies that can drive environmental sustainability, these are examples, right? I'll call out a few, but a lot of these can complement and aid the environment, right? For example, artificial intelligence, you can have climate and disaster predictions, whether it's a wildfire or a drought. You can have precision agriculture where your needs are hyper streamlined so that you don't have to waste extra money and there's no waste. For example, smart meters that help you drive at water quality and data alerts that nudge governments and local counties on what might be going wrong, so that they can take action. And you know, these are a couple more. I will share the deck later, so you can go through these yourself later. But I wanted to give you a taste of all of these technologies, from satellites to digital twins, and how they may be relatable for the environment. And I'll share a couple of examples of how UNEP is using technology. This is an air quality interactive global platform that is really aimed to drive not just transparency around pollution, air quality pollution, but also nudge governments, cities, counties on taking action. We know that 9 out of 10 people today are breathing polluted air, and that is causing a lot of deaths. This information is from our partners, World Health Organization. And the truth is 104 countries out of 196 do not have monitoring infrastructure in place. And it's not just a finance issue. It is a lack of open source technology, data expertise. And so here we created this map, and we have worked with IQ Air on delivering both the hardware and software. So you can track PM 2.5, which is the air quality measure that we use, at a local level. I encourage you to look it up. And what we did is we took that data and we localized it. So we worked with digital local counties and put them up on traffic ways. So you'll see the image on the bottom is from a billboard that says the air quality on this road is not healthy right now. And it helps nudge public demand for better environment, which, as we know, is often the case for moving the policy needle. This is a biodiversity tool that we worked on with UNDP, our sister organization, and National Geographic. And so there are about 400 data layers on biodiversity, and you can calculate life support areas. You can, mix up healthcare access with water stress access, biodiversity intact index, and extract the portion of the map that's most useful to you. And with that, policymakers can then say, this is what we need to do to decrease our healthcare costs. We need to focus on nature solutions so that ultimately in the long run, we drop healthcare costs, because we know those two are very interlinked. a countermeasure, this is a localized project. We worked with a number of technology organizations. So did you know that only 10 of the world's rivers are responsible for 95% of the tons and tons of plastic waste that you see in the ocean every year? And so we worked with drone technology, machine learning, GIS mapping, algorithms, together with Google and many, many other partners to identify plastic waste along the riverbeds, so to identify hotspots. And so once we found the hotspots, we alerted the local governments and we make the data available to research policy folks that helps them, arms them with the data ammunition to then make the necessary changes. We also realized digital transformation is not a simple thing to understand. It's a complex concept. It is not digitalization, so to speak. It's a systemic level change that is a result of digitalization. And so to do that, we realized that capacity building and understanding and learning is a big part of the equation. And so we're working with the German government and other organizations on multiple learning platforms that, that enable stakeholders to better understand how they can use technology to drive, whether it's climate goals, pollution goals, and understand the concept behind it. This is another example. We are working with a number of video game companies from PS4 to Angry Birds. It's called the Playing for Planet Alliance. So we know video games is one of the biggest entertainment sectors in the world, and the reach is about 2.7 billion people. And so we are working with them on two angles. One is to decarbonize their industry, like helping look at their carbon footprint, and then also seeding green actions or green nudges into the game user flow itself. And it was so interesting. I just was part of the judges panel for the next Green Game Nudge. And we were looking at the incredible entries for this competition. They were on wildfires, they were on how farming can be made sustainable. It was fantastic to see that. And this is the kind of systemic level change. So it's not just one project that we're going for. We're really trying to get large scale impact at scale and efficient. We're working with the likes of Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, but this one especially is the Climate Science Information Center to really embed the science to counter then misinformation. We're also setting up finance alliances, looking at carbon emissions with a number of large players like MasterCard, Rabobank, MIT, Lazada in the finance sector. And so just to really start wrapping this up, our immediate priorities for next year is focusing on that integration and creation of a seamless ecosystem for the planet, shifting markets and consumer behaviors with the help of partners, maybe such as yourselves, and then working on the digital literacy and engagement, because we know that is an important component of making the change. And so I guess where are we landing? Where we land is how can you contribute? I would encourage you to think about your own practice, your own industry, and look at, of course, your carbon footprint. How can you make that greener? But also, how do you make your data available? Make it fair, make it open data, accessible to all in easy formats for people with 5G bandwidth, but also people that are low tech and not able to access. And we have started this coalition of digital codes, it's called, is the Coalition of Digital Environmental Sustainability. It is an open multi-stakeholder community of change makers, practitioners, passionate enthusiasts that want to collaborate in accelerating a digital planet for sustainability. So please, if this presentation has been interesting, please hop over there. It was started by the Kenyan government, the German government, UNEP, UNDP, and a number of research organizations. We'd love to hear from you. We are 1,000 people strong community, and I think this sort of scale of project requires global input, and we are hoping that some of you here today are inspired to join us there. And if you have some training or learning in digital transformation, do share your knowledge with others, because we don't have time, and this message needs to spread. And as I said, ending here, it will really take epic collaboration across multiple stakeholders to achieve these big, massive goals and drive environmental sustainability and the digital transformation agenda, not just for the organization, I think for the planet and our future. So join us in this journey. Our future is really what we make of it. Thank you so much. I'll stop sharing, and then maybe I'll pass it back to Marian for any Q&A that might come up. Thank you.
Well, thank you. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate all of the balanced viewpoint you had. You had the pluses and the minuses. You talked about how people can get engaged. The opportunities of the fourth industrial revolution, but also the downsides of it, right? And how one of the things that I picked up that I guess I knew it floating around in the ether, but it really just kind of drove it home for me was number one, we've really created an environment of hyper consumption, and that has an effect on our environment. So while we're all busy pressing the Amazon send it in one day button, that has environmental impact, right? So I thought that was really interesting. Your attitude towards a systemic approach, large scale approach, convening, I thought was very interesting. Your work in the gaming industry, very, very thoughtful and proactive, because that reaches out to so many people. That 95% of the plastic consumption is 10 countries? Is that what you said? That to me was fascinating. But just the breadth of all the different parties that you're reaching out to across government, private organizations, et cetera. So I think we have just 5 more minutes of your time. Is that correct, Pooja? So I'd like to invite people to ask questions. How much more of you do I have? 5 minutes?
5 minutes, great.
Okay.
I can stay on for a little bit longer as well.
All right, so I'm taking a look at chat. So if anybody has any questions, please pop them in there. Meanwhile,
in the meantime, Marian, I was wondering if I could ask. I see some videos there, so hello everyone. I wanted to ask.
Beautiful.
And maybe you can drop it in the chat. Are you familiar with? Are you practicing digital transformation in your space? And what are some of the things you've done? It would be great to see how many of us are actively participating in it. And for a lot of us, we're not there yet. UNEP, we've just started the journey. So please, I would love to hear from you on where you are. And maybe you haven't, but maybe this presentation will trigger some inspiration. Back to you, Marian.
All right, as we're waiting for those to come in, I see in the chat, we've got someone who says, for consumerism, raw materials shipped to China, finished goods back to the USA, then Amazon to your house. Right, that's that, you just push the button, you think, oh, good, I got something. Well, and then it goes to the landfill. So I appreciate your comment, June. Pooja, to your point of, are people actively working in digital transformation? I can attest that I am, and I'll continue to look at the chat because I don't want to dominate the conversation. But I have done several blockchain assessments working with companies that want to do track and trace to be able to prove, for one client, it was to be able to prove that they weren't using conflict minerals. And then for another organization, it was so that they could prove to the consumer that a certain percentage of their raw materials were recycled.
Fantastic, Marian.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see.
Conversation in blockchain right now. I mean, blockchain typically has a bad reputation because of the amount of emissions, but it is a fantastic technology, and it can come to such good use. And there's for those of you that don't know, there's a big conversation right now on moving their workflow process from a proof of work, which is very, very energy sapping, to a proof of stake model, which is more green. So conversation to be continued, but Marian, I'd love to be in touch with you one-on-one and talk about how we can work together.
So one of the things that you should know, and I'll let everyone else know on the line as well, that we are launching Witty University, where we are going to, our premier class, our first class out will be on digital transformation, and I'll be leading that. I'll be very, very happy to work with you. Now, I do see there's another comment in the chat. Here in Austin, we're doing what we can. Folks are pushing to ensure tech folks can do their work just as effectively from home to avoid gas consumption. So yeah, the pandemic gave us a test and proof that you can work from home. And I used to have a 3-hour commute round trip.
Wow.
And I don't, yeah. So I don't anymore. We have in the San Francisco Bay Area, when the pandemic stopped driving, the stars came out. That's right. That's right. The pollution went away a little bit. So June, thank you for that as well. Any other questions or things people are working on?
I have a comment. This is Winifred. I'm located in Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a session later on today that will be talking about what the mining industry in Africa is doing in the area of digital transformation. So I just want to invite the audience, and particularly you who asked the question, for you to come into our session so that you can understand what they are doing, the experts are doing. I see Sharon. Sharon is in Namibia. So Namibia is in the house. We have Namibia in the house in that session, and we're going to have, I think, Namibia, Nigeria, and Tanzania. So please, we would love you to be in that session to add your knowledge to what they are going to share, because Africa has so many minerals. That is one of our core products. So let's know what they are doing in the area of digital transformation. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation. I'm going to moderate the session. Okay, so I hope to see you there.
Excellent, Winifred. Yeah, Winifred is actually responsible for Witty Africa. So she's been key in making all the connections to make these things happen. I also see in the chat that Becky Saylor says, I help work on getting legislation passed in Arizona to protect water. Big issue in the American Southwest. Chip manufacturers here use water. We need to balance commercial and residential water needs. I have a question from somebody, Heidi Zimmer. Why so much red in Africa on the pollution map?
So this is something that we see often, especially around cities in the global south. The regulations around cars, used cars, are not as tight. And so especially in cities, it is a huge issue. Secondly, there are other forms of air pollution. It can be indoor air pollution. It can be crop burning, forest fires. So that image that you saw was a timestamp from, let's say, 6 months ago, but I would encourage, I'll drop the link in here so you can see for yourself what is happening now. But in Africa, there's a lot of indoor air pollution because a lot of people cook with open fires, tires burning, road pollution with old cars, forest fires. There's a lot of fires burning in this continent as well. So all of that adds to the pollution.
All right, thank you for that. Now we're at time. I'm just going to quickly read a couple of these chats. Dr. Grace Journey says, University of Arizona Global Campus is an online university for adult students. Ebooks, videos, and podcasts are standard teaching tools. So that's very eco-friendly. Sharon says, mining sector, Namibia, we set up a technology office in 2020, and we have identified a number of initiatives. Phase 1 is 80% complete. We kicked off with a second phase. We have Spot, the robot dog, to automate routine inspection, paste backfill plant, drones, and data lake, to mention a few. So some interesting activity going on there. And one final question, what role do you see for digital twin technology?
Yes, this is a huge one. We are actually working with a lot of it because simulation of our planet, for example, and predictive technologies can help us identify climate disasters and drought-related issues far in advance. So with simulations, we can start to, instead of being reactive, we can plan in advance. No doubt the Earth is under a lot of pressure. And so while we know it's under pressure, we are not able to predict far out. So I think the digital twin modeling will really help with that. And it's a key part of our work as well.
All right, so thank you. I very much appreciate your point of view, the hard work you're doing, and how you're making a difference and giving us the opportunity to join you in that work. So thank you very much.
Now, thank you. I'll drop in the live platform so folks can explore where it is today. Just drop that in, but thank you so much for having us. I just want to mention that there are not enough women in technology, and we need more. So whether it's taking what you're doing right now and giving it a digital transformation, a spin, or looking at how technology can further your business in a green manner, please, we invite you to take on that challenge. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much, Witty, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Well, our next keynote is Dr. Eliane Ubali-Joro, the Global Hub Director in Canada for Future Earth, as well as the Executive Director of Sustainability in the Digital Age. She believes it's time for all of us to work together to flip VUCA. Now, that's an acronym, I think, that was first made popular, or comes from the military, and it stands for, so it's VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So that's our current state. And she wants to work to flip that for VUCA to mean vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. She'll be interviewed by Witty Managing Director Marty Evans. Marty, over to you.
Welcome everyone to this important keynote session supporting our theme of saving the world through digital transformation. My name again is Marty Evans, and for those of you who don't know me, I am a managing director for Witty. I have been involved with Witty for 20 years and first joined the ranks of as a woman in technology in the 80s. Today, however, I am honored to be here with all of you, our Witty community, and excited to introduce to you Dr. Eliane Ubali-Joro. Dr. Ubali-Joro is the Executive Director for Sustainability in the Digital Age at McGill University and Global Hub Director for Future Earth, along with participation in many, many other organizations of environmental significance. Welcome, Dr. Ubali-Joro. Dr. Ubali-Joro, may I call you Eliane?
Absolutely.
All right. Eliane, it's such a pleasure to have you with us today. I was absolutely fascinated by your background and your history in this arena. Can you take a few minutes and share with us your life journey and
Yes.
what got you to where you are today?
Absolutely. And I just want to make a correction. I'm a professor of practice at McGill University and Sustainability in the Digital Age. I'm the executive director through Concordia University. So I have two academic affiliations. It gets complicated. I know how my bio can be pretty long.
Okay.
And so my journey started 50 years ago in Rwanda, where I was born. And I grew up looking up to my mom, who basically in the countryside where we grew up in Rwanda, recycled, reused everything. And so I learned about the circular economy as a child through my mom, just seeing how she interacted with nature, how she worked with her environment, and also just the care she gave to her community. And so that inspired me my whole life. And I went on at 17 to come to Canada, to McGill University, where I did my bachelor's degree in agriculture, where I wanted to go back home and work with farmers in Rwanda. But sadly, a civil war started a year into my undergraduate degree. And so I went home during the Civil War, and it was not an easy place to be. And I realized that I needed to reorient my career. And so I went on to do my master's and PhD in molecular genetics. I worked in the biotechnology industry in Canada, where I worked to develop diagnostic tools using DNA around for the environment, for food safety, and for biohazard, and for defense. And so that's how I started my career in the field of innovation, and where I took my expertise as a biologist, as a molecular geneticist, and it interfaced with informatics for the first time in terms of how are we harnessing what at the time was the really the early genome research and looking at how can we use bioinformatics to analyze these genomes and find the fingerprints of organisms so we could be able to detect pathogens and be able to create better diagnostic tools for the world. And so that was my first foray into the private sector. And it was fascinating to be a scientific director and to really be able to dream and to just bring on the best people possible to innovate. And so that experience was a really amazing pathway to seeing, well, what could be done in Africa? And so when I eventually left the biotech world, I had my first child and I started doing consulting work and innovation. I wanted to be at have more control of my time and energy. And I started going back to Africa. And I realized that building innovation ecosystems really required working with people in academia, policymakers, entrepreneurships, and connecting very different fields together. And so I realized that we needed to build these ecosystems and we needed to build STEM leadership at the interface of these different sectors to really get things moving. And so for the last 20 years, I've been really working at the interface of health, environment, and agriculture, and looking at how do we find solutions that are sustainable, but also build prosperity globally.
So Eliane, thank you for that introduction there of how you got to where you are today. And I think it highlights a really important point for a lot of our individuals here that are participating in our summit, is that a lot of the informatics, big data, all was sourced in biotech and in the genomes, the amount of data that was required to do that initial work. And so you were in so many ways deep into all of that. And of course, that leads us to everything that we do with data today. And so what a great entree. One of the things we know as women is women are we all are greatly concerned about the environment and the future we are leaving for our children and our grandchildren. And as women in technology, we know there is a critical role that digital transformation will play in reaching a net carbon zero future. But how do you specifically see the role of digitalization in this journey?
So it's really critical, and as you said, my journey has in a way with serendipity really brought me to this interface of digitalization. And so what I see is that what's critical around this work is how do we harness digitalization for a more sustainable planet? And so I'm a champion of the Coalition for Digital Environmental Sustainability with the United Nations Technology Envoys Office, the United Nations Development Program, United Nations Environment Program, the International Science Council, the German Environment Agency, the Kenyan Ministry of Environment. And what we do is really look at the three major shifts we need to really accelerate how well we use digitalization to scale sustainability. And so we talk about shift one, which is aligning vision, values, and objectives, and looking at what are the enablers that we can use in terms of that digitalization sustainability interface to connect communities and transformations, to develop digital competencies everywhere so nobody's left behind, to harness science and systems thinking to really ensure that we have human capital that really can harness this space, to advance multilateral action to really be able to work at all levels of government, and build pioneering coalitions that really adopt norms and standards that are going to accelerate the process. We also know that we need a second shift, which is sustainable digitalization. We know that there are problems. We know that the more we use the digital tools that we have, the more energy and emissions also can happen. We know that there's a material base for this, and we need more circular economies to reuse the materials we have in the most sustainable way. We know we have to be careful around consumption in terms of digitalization. And so we know we also need to fight the misinformation that doesn't allow most people to have the accurate scientific information to understand how we move forward. And we need to bridge the digital divide to make sure that all people around the world can contribute effectively. And we also need to be very, very vigilant of rights violations in this space. And so that's the second shift really around sustainable digitalization. And the third and last shift we look at is digital sustainability. We see 6 innovations that are really critical to move forward. And so the first one is building a planetary digital twin to allow us to model and view what different scenarios could look like. We also think about sustainable circular economy. How do we innovate to grow the sustainable circular economy? How do we bring about sustainable consumption? How do we create knowledge commons to ensure that all, not just the big companies, have access to the data needed to find the insights so we can have data-driven decision-making that is founded in critical objective science. We also know we need breakthroughs in governance to really have more distributed leadership. And we need to have access to evolution to really be able to say, how are these spaces going to evolve and how do we ensure that we're aware of the consequences of how we harness the digital space? And so we see these 3 digital elements of this shift as very critical to ensure that how we use sustainability, how we harness digitalization for sustainability will ensure that we live within planetary boundaries.
Oh, yes. No, but I can see how all of that does interrelate and they all feed on one another and they're all important. And you must get visibility to so many different technologies that are emerging. Is there anyone out there that's, it's just emerging that catches your attention and you go, that's really exciting?
So for me, it's not necessarily one single technology, because I really think it's very critical that we focus on inclusive innovation. So how are we ensuring that all people around the planet have the innovations they need? So what I'm most excited about are governance frameworks and methodologies that really allow to ensure that we take the best of digitalization, of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and take the best of sustainability science, so boots on the ground knowledge. And so my team and I, in March, we produced a framework on reimagining climate governance in the digital age. And we consulted over a year with experts from all over the world, experts, scientific experts, philanthropy, policy experts, and we really came out with this framework on how do we co-develop in an emerging world a new space that will allow us to really ensure that we have ways of working in a very transdisciplinary way that allows failing forward, so very safe spaces for people with very different expertise to work together, and also spaces of trust so that everybody works together and learns from each other, and that no matter how little or how much we know, that we make it safe for other people to learn and share from us so we can co-create a future we all want.
Well said, for sure. One of the things that, as we read through, all the things that come towards us, whether it's newspaper or whatever, and media that we have, is always painting a picture of everything that's wrong. And we know that's important because we want to highlight the challenge and get people's attention moving towards solving the challenge. But what gives you hope that we will overcome the environmental challenges we have in front of us? They seem so large.
So I think more than the environmental challenges we have literacy challenges. We need everybody on this planet to believe in the urgency of climate change. We need all policymakers that we vote in to be champions of the work needed to achieve a nature positive net zero world. And so we really need engagement in the public sector, in the private sector. We need communities to work together, and we really need our interconnectedness to be lived. I think in the same way we're able to produce vaccines at an accelerated rate to fight COVID-19, we really need a collective interconnected effort to achieve what we need to do in the next 8 years.
Interesting. An interesting analogy too. And it's just that interconnectivity and everybody getting on to the same page and trying to achieve the same goal. Exactly. So what is your vision for 2030, regarding sustainable digital transformations?
So my vision for 2030 is a world where we've harnessed digitalization in the most effective way to look at all the sectors that are critical to our economies, that are emitting the highest levels of greenhouse gas emissions, and actually find ways to make them sources of carbon sequestration, and to really transform how we interact in the world, to work in ways that are circular and works in a way that benefit nature, that allow biodiversity to come back, and to really design spaces, living areas where belonging, connection with nature, peace building, food security for all, empathy for all beings, and empathy for all forms of life are prioritized. And so for me, it's a world where we take the best of science today and the best of empathy and the best of policymaking to really create a world where we leave nobody behind.
I love that, Eliane. We need to have you come back and speak at our digital inclusivity event in December, because it is all about that. And Carolyn Layton, the founder of Witty, that's one of her things that, the more people, the more women we can include into the digital economy, the more benefit we can bring. And finally, this session that you and I are here today together, it's going to be seen around the world. The majority of which will be women who want to be part of the solution and maybe even be inspired to take an active role in the fight. What can each of us do to take an active role?
So there's an initiative and a book that I love called All We Can Save that is written by women, feminists and climate activists and scientists and artists, that really looks at how powerful and critical our role as women are to bring about the needed transformations we need to see coming forward. And so what I think is really critical is to work locally in terms of how do we make our communities, wherever we are in the world, more livable, more in connection with nature? How do we make people more aware of how do we grow a circular economy? How do we use the resources that we have effectively? How do we educate the next generations to be climate warriors and activists that are working towards a vision of a future for all? And also, how do we be the ancestors we want future generations to have? And so where I'm based in Canada, there's an Indigenous saying that we need to have governance systems that think of 7 generations down the line. How can we govern for the 7th generation that will come? And so for me, it's really about how do we leave the planet a better place than we found it.
I love the 7th generation. That's excellent. I'm going to remember that and use that, because you're right. We don't always think far enough down the line.
Yes.
And so that's excellent. You certainly highlighted a book. Are there any other organizations, periodicals, thought leaders that you'd recommend?
Well, so I think that there's the people who are working actively today to make the transformations, and the people we need to remember who did amazing work that we're building on the legacy. So for me, I love the Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai and the work she has done and that is continuing to be done through her organization in Kenya, and inspiring billions of trees to be planted around the world. I think today, as we talk, it's Barbara McClintock's birthday, who is a Nobel laureate and geneticist who for many years worked while people didn't believe the work she was doing, but when technology evolved enough to be able to confirm the validity of her science, she became a well-renowned scientist. So also, how do we build resilience and keep going forward and move forward? And as women, we all will face biases, we will all face difficult things. And so it's important to remember the legacies of the people we are, building on. And I mentioned All We Can Save as an organization that I love. I encourage people to look at the Coalition for Digital Environmental Sustainability and the work that has been done there. The network I'm in, Future Earth, is a network, so thousands of scientists around the world, and we have hubs all over the world. And so I encourage people to look at the work being done there. I'm very excited about works colleagues in Andhra Pradesh in India are doing around regenerative agriculture on community natural farming. And so I think there's amazing work being done all over the world. I think the Daughters of the Earth, in terms of bringing women and girls together to be activists for the Planet is an amazing organization that I find really, really inspiring. There are just so many amazing things happening right now. I think there's amazing youth around the world all over doing really critical work. I also encourage people to look at Indigenous leaders all over the world, and as stewards of 80% of the biodiversity on the planet, I think there's amazing work being done by Indigenous experts. I think at the interface of technology, innovation, artificial intelligence, my colleague Jason Lewis at Concordia University, who's one of the co-developers of the Indigenous Artificial Intelligence Protocol, I think is very exciting in terms of how do we bring the best of the technological age with the best of the wisdom of our ancestors as we co-create the future, is something that I'm very excited about. And so I encourage people to be curious, to look at all of the amazing things happening around the world. I'm really inspired by so many people. A colleague of mine, Pauline Coble, who runs She Equity, who's investing in women in Africa, is somebody I'm really excited about in terms of how are we investing in women in the future. We know that less than 2%, sometimes, I think the last data was 0.2% of financing around climate is focused on gender in the world. So we know we need to accelerate the pioneering work of women around the world working as climate entrepreneurs, and we need to accelerate funding they receive. So all the initiatives around the world that are at that interface are very exciting initiatives that we should be following and supporting.
Eliane, I think an extension of what makes leaders great is being able to uphold their values. If you could think of one core value that you always have upheld, what is it and why?
Okay, I love this question. I would say compassion, and I'd say it's a value that was transmitted to me through my mom, and that I have transmitted to my daughter, who turned 18 yesterday. And interestingly, she's an artist, and next week she has a song that she produced that is coming out for to accompany a United Nations endorsed book on the Sustainable Development Goals. And so the idea that we can work as scientists, as artists, working together to bring greater compassion to the work we do is something that I think really matters. And I'd say compassion is the most important value for me, because it really allows all our work to be of service to the most amount of people on the planet, and that we feel connected to everyone. And so it's really about ensuring that we leave no one behind.
That's right. And, you know, one of the things that many successful individuals mention is the importance of mentorship. How do you define a successful mentee-mentor relationship, and maybe a mentor that really made a difference for you?
Oh my God, that is, it's such a critical element in all relationships. And so one of the important things I find is, especially as a mentee, is have clarity what you want from a mentor. And when you identify people that you'd love to be mentored by, study them, understand them, learn from them before you even meet them, so that when you get to the place where you're actually interacting with them, you're really working in emergent space in terms of learning from what they have not shared yet, and making sure that what you're asking really corresponds to the interface of who they are, what they've done, and where you want to go. Because it's always, make it exciting for your mentors to support you. And so one of my mentors is an emeritus professor at McGill University, Professor Tim Geary, who was the director of the Institute of Parasitology. So Tim and I were funded for a number of years through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's Grand Challenges Canada and the Canadian Institutes for Health Research, looking at drug discovery for parasitic diseases that affect over 1 billion people on the planet. And so what we were doing is we were looking at African biodiversity as sources of new medicine, and we were doing work at the interface of chemoinformatics and the molecular genetics, organic chemistry space to really create an innovative space to identify molecules that could be the next generation of blockbuster drugs to help solve issues around the world. And what Tim allowed me is, he was my champion. He encouraged me, and he created space for me to grow. And he would put me forth in times where I didn't think I had what it took to lead, but he always made it safe for me to fail forward. And so I think the best that mentors can do is really look at us and help us become our best selves. And so I will always be grateful to the work we did together, and we continue to stay in touch, even though now he's an emeritus professor and spends part of the time also doing work in Ireland and continues to do work globally. But it's really this idea of having people who are deep champions, who trust you and who believe in you so much that they will make sure that you keep growing beyond anything you think you can.
You know, it is really interesting when you think back. I mean, I participated in the first Earth Day in 1970, I think it was, or 69, but anyway. And to see us now, you know, 50 years forward, all of these initiatives, they really were non-existent at that point. And while there's much work to be done still, and it's become more critical, it is work that it did start that far back.
Yes.
And thank you also for highlighting young people, because while I may be, you know, have, you know, back 50 years ago involved, I love seeing the young people today, because they are so much more committed to this topic, to this conversation, and to actually having their work effort make a difference. And so to, you know, all of the women that are our members in Women in Technology International, you know, we know that there's going to be some bright stars out there that are going to make a difference. So Eliane, I mean, it has been an absolute pleasure having this time with you. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here with us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Another powerful presentation and perspective. So thank you for that. Now, it was a pre-recorded session, and I saw a question in the chat, and we're going to see if we can't get back to you with some answers around that. A few notes I took real quickly were around some phrases and concepts I liked were the concept of inclusive innovation, be the ancestors future generations need, building resilience, be curious, compassionate, etc. So a lot of real, you know, asking, being really crisp in what you're asking of your mentor, and make it exciting for your mentor. All great, great lessons. It was another jam-packed idea fest. Very exciting to hear from these voices. All right, so in today's hour on climate change in Africa, we have another stellar group of people. We have a blue ribbon keynote panel of Witty Africa regional leaders to discuss the challenges women in their regions face to take leadership roles in the tech sector, and how they're helping these women break free from the barriers. Our panel moderator is Winifred Iriu. I know I'm getting it wrong. And so I'm going to ask Winifred for you to repeat your name so we get it right. Names are important. She's the founder of the ThinkSTEM Foundation and the network head of Witty Africa. Winifred, over to you.
Thank you so much, Marian. It's great to be here. The two keynote speakers really have shared amazing nuggets. You know that some of them we'll address when we talk today. So I just want to tell you that I've been having problems with my Wi-Fi because Spectrum sent a message that they have an outage. So I have a co-moderator here to say Arowo Julu in case I drop out and I have to relog back in. So our focus, our mission at Witty Africa is to amplify the voices of female African tech professionals by connecting them to the global tech community through our proprietary Witty platform. And the goal of doing that, you know, the first speaker talked about connectivity, you know, inclusive community. So our goal really is to be able to spark creativity and spur innovation. The second speaker talked about having an innovative ecosystem, and that's really the focus of Witty Africa. The first speaker talked about bridging the global north and the global south, and that's what we're doing in Witty Africa. So joining me today is my co-moderator, Tosin Arowojulu. Tosin, do I have you here? Because I'm having some tech problems. I do not see. Oh, I see
Right
you.
here.
Good,
I'm
good.
here.
Yes, very good. So Tosin Arowojulu. Tosin, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Tosin Arowojolu. I'm a civil engineer turned, I guess, life engineer, you could say in a way. I work on leadership and communication skills for organizations, for professionals, and also for women. And I'm a part of the John Maxwell leadership team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tosin. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. So joining us will be Angie Mahmood. Angie, can you unmute yourself? Is Angie unmuted? And okay, so next will be Indeye Abasi. My sincere apologies. I have not resided in Africa for 3 decades, so my pronunciation may not be very good. Indeye, please, can you unmute yourself? Tosin, do you see Indeye there?
Not seeing her at the moment.
Not here. Okay, then we also.
Okay, I think someone said they'll be late by 5
That
minutes.
was Angie. That was Angie. And then we have Sikelo Dube. Do you see Sikelo Dube?
I do not see Sotelo.
So do you see any of my regional network leaders?
Let me check again.
Yeah, it looks like it's just the two of you for now. So start the conversation between the two of you and we'll loop in the others as they join.
Okay, so tell me, Tosin, we are going to have the conversation together. So tell me, you say that you are a leadership coach. What is the meaning of leadership to you?
Well, for me, leadership starts with me. In order for me to be a leader, I have to be able to lead myself first. And also, being able to lead myself means that I have a purpose, I have a vision that I'm going after, that I'm working towards. And when I'm able to have that well-defined, then I'm able to lead all others as well, to go with me along the journey to leadership. And so leadership always starts with oneself, because I cannot lead anyone anywhere unless I'm leading myself somewhere. And so that's what I see leadership as.
Very good. Do we have Nono on the, she said Nono says she's there. So do we have Nono there from South Africa? Can you see her? Nono. Okay, very good, very good. So Nono is our regional network leader from South Africa. Let me introduce Nono. Nono is just a minute now. Nono is an ICT professional, a 2021 finalist for Africa Women in Tech Award. She's also a strategist who has become well respected in her line of work by virtue of achievement, skills, and knowledge built on a strong 21 years ICT profession. She successfully implemented turnaround strategies through best practices and innovative thinking. She holds a master's degree in business administration, and she's pursuing a doctorate degree in business administration research on digital transformation. She's held managerial positions in South Africa's top local government departments and institutions such as eThekwini Municipality, University of Johannesburg, Transnet National Ports Authority, and Walter Sisulu University. She's traveled to countries such as the USA, Singapore, Belgium, and Spain, and she's gaining insights in her field, learning best practices, and extending her network of strategic partnerships. Nomazui Moloma. My apologies. No, if I got your name wrong. I'm learning. It's not only passionate about ICT service delivery, but it's also a community builder who is passionate about women development, especially in ICT. She has a remarkable talent of working in harmony with the staff, communities, and various stakeholders in a manner that builds strategic partnerships. Nono, as she's also known by her close friends and family, have become one of her close friends, so I call her Nono. She's just a humble woman with strong beliefs in family. So Nono, welcome to our panel discussion. I asked Tosin, who currently resides in Bahrain. She has a background in environmental engineering, and she's currently a leadership coach. I asked her the question, what is leadership? And one of the things she said, leadership is, first of all, to lead others, she has to be able to lead herself. So tell me, you've taken a lot of leadership roles, and you are our witty South African network leader. What is leadership to you?
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Namambot. Okay, to me, leadership is the way of influence to your environment. A leader is someone who develops others. Sometimes you will see that Nono might have a lot of accolades. It is because of the people that work with Nono that made her to be who she is. Living in this time of digital era, a leader is someone who has a vision to add value either to your organization or to the people that you are serving. So I see that from a leadership position. Thank you.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you so much. I am looking for I'm trying to multitask here because I'm trying to get my other leaders to join this conversation. My sincere apologies because of the time difference. People do get confused. So I'm trying to call them to say the meeting has started. Please jump on. So thank you about, Tosin talked about leading self, you talked about adding value. And for me, leadership is all about influence. It rises and falls on influence, the ability to influence others. I look at leadership across three categories: the ability to lead yourself, the ability to lead with others, and the ability to lead others. But like both of you have rightly said, for you to lead yourself, lead with others, or lead others, you've got to have a mission and vision where that you are getting people, you are kind of getting people to buy into that mission and vision. So that leader needs to have quite a few character traits to be able to achieve that. So I see NG has joined. NG, can you please unmute yourself? So I know,
Sure.
we all have to be, we all have to kind of be ready to be flexible because of this a global community, the different time zones, and so please be patient. So NG Mahmoud, she resides in Egypt and she is our witty network leader for North Africa. NG Mahmoud is a business process data analysis, process/data analyst and people management consultant with more than 20 years of international work experience in Egypt, India, and the Gulf Cooperation Council that includes the countries of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and Oman. NG is a professional expert in human resources, organizational development, and operational excellence. She holds a BA in English Literature and Culture from Ain Shams University, certified organizational leadership from Oxford University. She has the Google PMP and she's currently trying to be certified, I think ongoing SHRM-CP. NG believes in the value of the people. She's always passionate about helping people feel empowered, connected, and driving them to reach their dreams. NG describes herself as a dreamer and a change maker. So NG, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining the discussion. You people had my heart skipping a beat. Oh my goodness. Anyway, tell me, Angel, what is leadership to you?
First of all, thank you so much, Winnie, for your wonderful introduction. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good evening, or good afternoon. It depends on the region for each of you. So it's a really privilege to participate in this wonderful and amazing summit. First of all, please accept my apologies for being late, as I was engaged in a very crucial meeting, a sudden crucial meeting, so I had to go with it. Actually, for me, Winnie, it's leadership, as Nono said, that it is the ability to influence and change. For me, leadership is more inspirational. It needs authenticity and commitment, because at the end of the day, it is through people's growing, seeing people's growth, or it is through people's growing, you can see the fulfillment of your success as a leader. So, and also for me, it is a continuous learning process. Normally, leadership positions require a set of mastered skills like consistency, patience, and emotional agility. On the other hand, we observe and notice in our everyday life that some of the most influential and dynamic leaders were never be in a leadership position before, or even they will never be trained to be leaders. So, and this confirms that credentials alone don't make leaders. And from my point of view, those leaders by nature are the ones we need to rely on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So Indeye is here. Indeye, are you here? I cannot see you. Tosin, please help me here. My computer is messing up, so I'm on my mobile phone. Is Indeye there?
Not yet, Winifred. We're going to keep you posted. So it's just the four of you for now.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for your help, David. It takes all of us to make this, to make magic work. So my next question. So Tosin, please, can I give you the button? Can you ask the next question?
Sure, I'll be happy to. So as we've been looking at what leadership is and how we define leadership, I'm curious to hear from you ladies, as you may have faced barriers in your communities as women. So what are some of the barriers that you may have faced as leaders in your communities, in the women in tech community specifically? Who would like to go first? Either one of you. Should we go with Nono?
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Yes, in leadership specific to women in IT executive position, even just in IT general positions, we face a lot of barriers. And I want to start to say that I acknowledge the fact that in Africa, there are policies which our governments are implementing in order to protect women against discrimination, which is one of the barriers that we face in terms of gender discrimination in leading our counterparts. And also the way you will find that some of the organizations are still far to accept and adopt the fact that a woman can lead in an IT executive roles. So knowing that in the previous years, technology or engineering or STEM careers were more focusing on male dominant opportunities were given to males. Even the way our children were brought up in terms of a female and a male child at home in African countries, you will notice that the focus was more to educate a male child and not educate a female, simply because the focus was that every young woman must get married when she matures and be ready for marriage. So education was a compromised area on its own, especially in technology. So you'll find that those are the barriers that are facing us, that cultural bias that we need to break. And also we respect our governments that as the time is going, the countries are evolving towards the right direction and ensuring that we like here today to stand for what we believe in. So there are barriers also where women see themselves in a very low level in terms of the technology industry. Many women, they resign in their jobs simply because of that old barrier of discrimination in position. So I'm thinking that, yeah, those are the barriers we are faced with, and also of not being assertive enough to stand for what we believe in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nono. That's very true. Going back even to my mother, who at a young age wanted to be an architect and was told that, no, you can be a nurse instead. Nothing against being a nurse, but that's part of the barrier that she faced at her time. And sadly, we're still seeing that even today. So I'd like to hear from Angie as well. What are some additional barriers that you could also add to the conversation?
Actually, Tosin, it's I can add something which is very important. That plus, no, I can't. I can't agree more with the words of Nono, because actually we have the same social norms and all workforce and organizations also make it as a barriers. For such an example, the ICT sector participates for 7% of Egypt's total GDP, okay? And during the last 7 years, the ICT sector succeeded to add investments related to digital transformation, fintech, and edtech. So with this amount, they drag up an amount of $4.3 billion during the 7 years. And on the other hand, women, although girls, 35% of girls who enrolled a higher education graduated from faculties of computer science and information technology, but women in the ICT workforce reserve a percentage of just 17%, I'm sorry, 17% compared to 73.4% for men. So, and organizations tend to hire men with the percentage more of 63.4% rather than women, which is 11.8%. So this is one of the barriers that we have to be seen more and we have to be recognized more, because the potentials in girls and the potentials we see every day in women in the all over the world, not only in North Africa, make or bring us the right to ask for more justice and more covering this gap between hiring men and women. Thank you.
That's a very great point that you've raised, Angie. The barrier is still there. And what can we do to get this barrier, to get over this barrier? Whether we're facing cultural norms or whatever it is that we're facing. If any of the speakers can share with us how we can overcome these barriers. And I see that Indeye has joined us. Welcome. It's great to have you here. I don't know if you
Thank you,
can hear
Tosin
me.
and colleagues. Yes, I can hear you properly.
Awesome, awesome. Great, you're just in time to continue with the conversation.
Yeah,
And so-
Tosin, can Indeye answer that question? Thank you so much Tosin, for filling in for me, my best friend for life. I knew you will be able to help me out with all these tech issues I'm having. So, Indeye, without me, because of the time, having to introduce you, I will ask the attendees to go to the website to read about Indeye's very interesting profile that highlights a lot of her leadership roles. Indeye, I want to ask you a question. That the speaker yesterday was from, keynote speaker was from Senegal, and you are from Senegal. So tell me, because she talked about the community that she lives in, and she talked about wanting to leave the earth in a manner that is habitable for her children. So tell me, you are local to Senegal, what are the barriers women face in Senegal? I know you do work across Africa because you are the head of JADA, and JADA has 36 chapters in Africa. What are the barriers you face in women face in Senegal, in your local community, in the area of leadership?
Sure. Yes. Thank you so much, Winfred, first of all, for having me, but for this very interesting question. Actually, I think if you relate it to what my previous colleagues have just said, it comes back to two things. One is stereotype, and the second is skills. You know, let me start with the stereotypes. Actually, when you grow up in a society where you're told that technology is not for you, or that you're meant to be married at an early stage because you have to fulfill other responsibilities than the ones of being a manager, you grow up with that mindset and with this lack of skills, and that gets to the second point, lack of personal development skills and technical skills that lead you to you becoming a manager as a woman. So these two barriers are more and more seen and get into what we call today leadership issues, because it goes like the chicken and the egg. Because you suffer from these stereotypes, then you won't be willing to spend that much time strengthening your skills, and then the stereotypes goes on, and then again, you end up dropping out of that circle. And women in STEM and girls' education need to be supported in a way that, you know, it goes back to leadership. A friend of mine was asking me, why would we call a woman in tech a woman in tech? So I got back to him and I said, we tend to do that because we feel that there is not much done towards including more of these women in this technology space. And it goes back to the definition of what the leader is. You know, each and every one of us has an aim, has a career, has a vision of how you feel your generation or the generation to come through your children should be supported. And as long as we as women don't have that clarity, we will then suffer from, you know, previous generations' issues and challenges. And it goes again like the chicken and the egg.
Thank you so much for that. I like the fact that the three of you have brought up issues that are really, a lot of them are Africa specific, and people in the global north may not be aware of it. They may not be aware of when they see a female engineer, they may not be aware of the sort of barriers we've had to break free from in order to become a female engineer. So maybe as they listen to this conversation, our value in the marketplace will increase, you know. You talked a lot about cultural norms, you know. You talked a lot about belief system, religious beliefs. You talked a lot about stereotypes. There are barriers faced. There are some commonalities with the barriers faced by women here in the global north, but there are some that are specific to the global south. You know, when I was growing up, my father, you know, the way I was raised, he was a lawyer, my mother an educator, and he raised his three daughters, who were his priceless jewels, and he raised us to believe that we could be anything we wanted to be. So, and one of the things he told me, said, Winifred, it doesn't matter what happens to you in life, you can lose everything you have, but the gift I'm giving you is the gift of education. Nobody can ever take that from you. And I hold those words to myself so that as I navigate life, it helps me to be resilient. So that's going to, and Tosin too has a story, but because of time, that is going to lead to my second question, which Tosin had already asked before I told her to take a pause. So my best friend for life, Tosin, can you ask your second question again about how can women break free from this barrier? So Tosin, over to you. Did I lose Tosin?
No, I'm here. I was muted. Okay, yes. So I was asking that, how can we break free from these barriers? We've talked about the barriers that we face. as women in tech in our different communities. So how can we break free from these barriers and take leadership positions in the tech sector?
Okay, can I come in?
Yes, please, Nono, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I think for me, it is critical for women to understand the time we live in. Like we know that there is a digital era of fourth industrial revolution in front of us, which the conference that we're in has been touching on these points. I think it's critical for women to upskill themselves and take opportunities that are available. So when we capacitate ourselves and we will break free from the barriers, we will stand and take up space. The opportunities that our governments are giving through the legislation, they will help us to take up space and develop ourselves and allow mentors like the other speaker have just spoken before myself. I'm grateful that there is an organization like WITI, which will allow a capacitation of women from technology, from energy, from mining, from all areas, which that will be a great platform for getting mentors so that we can be able to break the barriers and stand and be idealistic to the bigger vision, where we are going, where we want to be as women. I think that's part of the barrier breaking enforcement we can do on our side. Thank you.
Excellent. That is so true. Having mentors, and I'm sure each one of us has stories of how mentors have shaped our decision to become engineers and have been able to excel in our fields as leaders. So I would like to hear from the other speakers as well, Angie and Ndeye. What, in addition to what Nono mentioned about upskilling and also getting mentors, what are some of the other ways in which you can overcome these barriers? Angie, would you guys to go for that? Okay, Angie may be frozen, I think. So Ndeye, could I pass it on to you?
Sure thing. And I'll really make it simple the way Nono stated. I think Angie is back.
Angie, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you, Tessine. I can make my camera off just for more resilience with the internet, and so let me take it off for a while.
Sure.
Okay. And while she's doing that, maybe do you want me to share? Yeah, to say.
Yeah, and then Angie can go ahead. Go ahead, Ndeye.
Exactly. Okay. You know, it gets back to what Nono just said. You know, having mentors is really important, and it gets back to the stereotypes and skills. We mentioned the stereotypes. We need more women in the STEM and women in tech, in mining, in these industries to speak up. They need to share their experience. They need to make it so relevant that you'll just get out there and tell yourself that it's possible to do it. And beside that, you know, mentorship is so important. But having the fact of getting a coach, you know, somebody who can teach you how to do this is absolutely, you know, priceless. The fact of having somebody who can literally teach you in terms of business and personal skills, actually, because remember, I mentioned skills as being personal development and all the other stuff, like the technical expertise that you need to be able to do your work. If you're confident and then you can share as a mentor and then as a coach, you can probably be able to inspire other women and girls out there that know exactly that being educated is the best investment they can do in themselves. Now, the second thing is when we mention skills, we need to make it very simple. Because at times I have the feeling that we women tend to make it so complicated, like if it was like something outstanding, amazing, maybe to get more, you know, to get more fame or more buzz, or, you know, to be respected or have that, our elbows, we tend to make it complicated. And I think really skills needs to be made easy. It needs to be so accessible. When I say accessible, I refer to it being in a very simple jargon that everyone can understand. And even if you have a friend, you know, when you're in an exam and you get it and you have the tricks to help your other fellow people understand it, That's exactly the very same process. And in the other side, making skills accessible also means that we need to support them in the way of getting educated. They need to go and learn how to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ende. And I can see that Angie is saying bravo, and I couldn't agree more. So bravo, that's very, very good points that you've shared. Is Angie, are you able to add your voice to the conversation as well? Excellent.
Yes, I can.
Go ahead.
Okay, India, I guess she said it all. Okay, and I can add some points that it is important to before learning and before going through our journey to be promoted or to have this leadership positions, we have to learn to respect ourselves, to love ourselves as we are, to respect our unlearning journey, and to search for more, to be thrive, to learn more. This is very important for ladies, because actually we here in Africa, we find ourselves that if we lack in something, we can't learn. For example, language. We have English as a second language. So if we have a problem with the English language, it is okay. It's totally okay. If it is not the end of the world, we may have courses to enhance our language. Okay. So, and this is never underestimate or undergrade our positions or something wrong with us. No, not at all. So we have to determine the problem first, and we have to believe in ourselves that we are perfect. And we in the journey of learning, it is totally okay to be to don't know something and getting along to know it. So this is what I'm going to add. Thank you, Nandi. And
so thank you so much for that. Thank you, Tosin. Thank you so much for that. You people have talked about having mentors. You're talking.
Okay, she froze. Yes, mentors are important for us to have. Knowing ourselves and believing in ourselves, just like Angie mentioned, these are all valid points that we need to be aware of. Also, Nono had also made a very good point at the beginning of the session about policies in place by government. And with that, that would also help in ensuring that women can break that barrier that's been holding us back for centuries. I would also like to add that we also need men as allies. We need to have the men, because most of us have worked as engineers in male-dominated fields, and having men as allies will ensure that we are able to overcome these barriers. Because for example, I had a wonderful supervisor who was very encouraging to me as a junior engineer, on always providing any resources that I needed without feeling threatened that because I'm a woman. And on the other hand, I had another boss who mentioned at his retirement party that he doesn't believe women should be in the workforce. So I had two different experiences that totally shaped the way I look at how I became a woman in tech. One positive, of course, and one not so positive, but thankfully it's something that we can change. And so if we can have men as allies as well, I think that would help in ensuring that we're able to break this barrier, because we're all working together. And studies have shown that when there's a diverse workforce, actually the companies and the organizations benefit a lot more financially, in terms of morale. There's so much more that goes into diversity in the workforce. So any other inputs? Winifred, are you back?
Yes, yes, I am back. It's a spectrum problem. It's not my problem. My wife.
No worries, you're back.
My
That's
apologies. Okay, yes, yeah. Okay, so one. I'm not sure if somebody mentioned it. But I'm very passionate about this topic, and that's what I do with Think STEM Foundation, where my focus is to build the minority female tech talent pipeline. And when I talk about minority, I'm talking about the Black minority, not just the female. And so another thing that is that we can use to break barriers is really through outreach. And when I talk about outreach, I talk about project-based outreach, because to get a girl to be interested in STEM, you have to use a different modality from a guy. You cannot just tell her that, do you like science? Do you like mathematics? And, because there's that stereotype that girls don't like science, they don't like maths. You have to connect the female to the communities that they serve, that they reside, to the problems that exist in their community. So, for example, do you want to ensure that there's water available in your community for everybody? Do you want to ensure that there's electricity, energy available? Now, when the female student can connect the problem with themselves, then they begin to be interested in STEM. So doing project-based STEM outreach is so important in order for you to attract the female population into STEM careers, and doing an outreach in a manner where you actually build what you call sister tribe. I always go with my sister tribe. Tosi and I have been doing life together for 43 years, although I'm still 16-year-old. But a number of us are in Witty. I joined Witty first. But you have opened the door to my other sisters. But that's kind of typical for females. You find that when you educate girls together, girls begin to pick their interest in subjects increase. So doing project-based outreaches, especially outreaches that are girl focused, where you have more girls, a concentration of girls, the research has shown that it has been very effective. And that is the method I use when I do my outreach. The school that Tosi and I went was a girls only school. And there are so many of us in STEM, so many of doctors, engineers, mathematicians, scientists, physicists. One of the physicists talked yesterday in the Witty Summit. So project-based outreaches is also another tool to break free from barriers. So I will hand the baton over to you, Tosi, because of the instability of my network.
Very well said, Winifred. We have to involve the younger generation as well, because they will also carry on the baton, so to speak. So one more question that I would like to put forth to the panel is, what impact do you see Witty Africa making in your region? And I'd like each one of you to talk about that. So shall we go to Ndeye?
Yeah, thank you for going with me first, because I have a very valid point here. No, to be very honest, in this part of the world, Francophone countries are lagging behind. That's just the truth. And we are doing so because for some reasons, most of the technology itself is written in a language that is in English. So having first to learn English in order for you to catch up on that language barrier is already a huge thing to do. So I think having this kind of gathering is also helping, and having it in all the languages is even more helpful, because that way, even the ones that have, that complexity of speaking English that is not their mother tongue could then become a bit more, fluent or fluid or easy to share. And Witty is doing amazing. And thank you for having us, really, because otherwise I wouldn't have that chance of meeting with Nono and with Angie. But besides that, you are kind of helping in addressing the two solutions that I had suggested earlier. If you recall, one was on skills and making things easy and accessible. And this is exactly it. When we just talk about an issue and decide of the fact that we need to handle it, I can guarantee you women are really doing amazing on that. So building and creating that network that can foster our skills and capabilities will not only help us in our career, but it will help us affirm our personal identity and say, okay, you know what, I was there. I was one of the speakers. Then the second thing is related to what I would call sorority. We need to create more of this type of sorority clubs within ourselves as women in the expertise that we know, for us all to kind of build that momentum, because otherwise we won't be able to have our voices heard, because the others are louder. Men are louder anyway, because they're winning with numbers. If we are able to not only build a network of women, assuming all the women that were part of WITI would then have a database, describe what they're good at, and say hola to anyone coming in their country, for example. If you want to come to Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, be my guest. But that would then help in fostering and localizing this knowledge. Because what I know sometimes, I know it best in French, because that's my mother tongue, than in English. So if we're able to build that momentum and create that repository of knowledge and database of women in, in this era, we can then have our voice heard. And a lot of activities, for example, let me give you an example that I was using at JITR. JITR is an NGO that is supporting entrepreneurship and using it as a skills for leadership. We thought, okay, how can we support laboratories across the country? But we realized while visiting these laboratories that the teachers themselves didn't have the right language. They didn't have exactly what Winifred was saying. They didn't speak, they didn't really make it simple and accessible. And as a result, the women was like, okay, I'm not even getting any good marks in this topic. It's science, it's complicated. Oh my God, I'm lost. Let me just leave it and drop it. So we said, okay, why don't we just use gamification? So I came in, when they are at almost everyone at the age of the 14 or 15 might do the porridge of millet. They do it, with their hands. They use their hands and they make it. It's called the porridge of millet here in Senegal. So I told them, while you're doing that, how do you prepare it? Oh, they were like, oh, I know it. So they started dropping the answers and having so many different ways of doing it. Actually, I learned quite new ways of doing it myself. And at the end of the day, I told them, you know what are you learning at school now at the moment? They say, oh, physics and chemistry, we're learning calorimetry. And how, the heat and the fact of having temperature, Celsius, it's quite complicated. And when I realized that actually they were doing exactly the same thing while preparing the millet or preparing a recipe while being at the kitchen. And when they realized it themselves, it was an aha moment, because they realized that they've been doing science and technology and all this all the time without even knowing that they were doing it. Why? Because a very smart man has decided to use very complicated words to make it look very, very complicated for them not to get it. And at the end of the day, I think this type of sessions as WITI is helping us have our voices heard. And please, I urge you to create this type of groups and sorority. I know that Winfred has already started to build the expertise and make it easy to find and easy to access to. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Ndeye. That is such a powerful point, that we should just sit and just hear you out. When I chose to become an engineer at 14 years old, that was because the first female engineer in Nigeria came to my secondary school. And I can remember it. She's now a member of the WITI Hall of Fame. She was inducted last year. But when she came to my school, she didn't talk about mathematics. She didn't talk about science. She told us that the things that we were doing, like, in Nigeria, we take cans of tomatoes, we put them together, and we will have a hanger and we will push them, and that will be a car that we were playing with, because we didn't have toys that people have here, but that was our car. And my mother had a garden at the back of the house before farm to table became popular. We were practicing it in Africa. So my mother had a big garden for a growing family. She had 8 children. She could not afford to be going to the market all the time. So we tomatoes and pepper, and we come to the dining, to the kitchen to cook them, and to the dining room to eat them. And she told us that was all chemistry, and that was all science. And we would take palm trees, the palm fronds in Africa, we would pluck them, we would braid them, and we would build houses. And she told us that was civil engineering. Lo and behold, my world expanded, that I was already doing engineering without knowing it. And I was only 14 years old. Can you imagine that? And all of a sudden, all the subjects I was doing at home,
That's so true, Winifred, and thanks for sharing that point, because when we're able to make the subject relatable in a language that is understandable to the young girls, it makes it more attractive. And I can say the same for myself. No, I know you're just waiting to share your nuggets on this topic as well. So over to you, dear.
Okay, thank you so much. No, is new to Witty. Thank you to Winifred for the appointment through to the skills I have. But before I can elaborate on what we see in South Africa, that what Witty can do for us, I just want to acknowledge there are great initiatives which our city was part of launching them in terms of women development in high schools, mostly the disadvantaged schools, where children or high school learners are taught how to start digitalizing or learning the digital code. So I'm quite excited with those initiatives, and I'm thinking that with Witty now, we believe in a bigger vision, because we can see, like in this summit, there's diversity, there is a lot of collaboration which we can gain that will help and enhance and drive innovation and growth, and make us to partner with different corporations which will add value. Remember that we are in the United Nations mandate to improve the livelihood of citizens across the world. Yes, there's energy, going green, and digital transformation. So for me, I see Witty as an organization that will help us to move faster than the way we were moving as countries, so that we can enable technology or digital transformation and let our citizens live better. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Witty is really making a difference, particularly in Africa, of course, globally. That's one of the reasons I myself joined Witty. I would also like to hear from Angie as we are getting close to the end of our time together. Angie, could you give your input also on how
to see it?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, please continue.
No, I was handing it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, for sure. I have the same perspective of those wonderful esteemed ladies, but I just wanted to add that through Witty, I have to confess that through Witty, I had to see, or I have this wonderful opportunity to see and mingle with those wonderful and esteemed ladies. And they are one of the natural or jewelry or natural resources of this wonderful content. I love Africa so much, and I'm proudly African before being Egyptian. So, and I know that through Witty, we can have a lot of things to do together, maybe encouraging, exchanging students, female students, to see each other, to have more, to know more about our cultures, our social norms, the obstacles we may face as female here and there, and how we may face it together overall. We may have something like hackathons, so the developers, female developers, can think out loud and having this wonderful projects together. We may encourage the female entrepreneurs to have projects and small or SMEs we may encourage investment also. So I know that we have already cooperation through our departments. And as Nandia, I saw her talking about COP27. Yes, this is a wonderful opportunity, so we can meet together. By the way, so I know that there is a lot we can do through WITI Africa, and through I guess we have the consistency to do a lot of things, to profitable things to our communities. I know that we have the African Union and we are cooperating in the governmental level, but I guess we have to get more and dig more deep as societies together and do something great together. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. Yes, we have a lot that we can certainly offer to our different communities through WITI. I kind of bring everybody in, being an African living in the Middle East, because I live in Bahrain. And so we definitely will be working together to put together different initiatives and working together as a collaboration for our different communities and also as one under the WITI Africa banner. And it looks like we lost Winifred yet again. And Winifred.
Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. So this is the WITI African Regional Team. We are going to be bridging the gap between the Global North and the Global South. Our focus is to empower locally and connect globally. So thank you for being patient with me with all my internet issues. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Tosin, for hanging in there with me. We do not have too much time for questions, but if you have, we have 3 minutes left. If anybody has a question, please ask the question, and you can also put it on the chat. We'll put your email address. We will get back to you. So here we are. In North Africa, we have Angie Mahmoud, who will be our regional network leader in North Africa. In West Africa, French West Africa, we have Indeyi Absa Ginigi. In South Africa, we have Nono. And actually in East Africa, her internet is bad, so she was not able to connect. And who am I to complain? Mine has been bad. Sikelo Dube. So we're growing. Our goal is to have networks, have events in each country, but we're going to start in a phased. We're going to use a phased approach, starting with regional networks before we go to in-country networks. So thank you so much for attending this event. Does anybody have a question? Sikelo is here. Oh my goodness, Sikelo, you came at the last minute. Sikelo, you just have 2 minutes. Sikelo is a WITI regional network leader in East Africa. She came right at the last minute. Sikelo, it's unfortunate we just have 2 minutes. We can do a recording of you and put it on the website so you can go through all those questions. Sikelo, I'm sure the time zone threw you off or something on the internet. But thank you so much, Sikelo, for coming. Does anybody have a question? So there's the team. Now that you see their faces, that's the team that is going to be bridging the North and the South. Does anybody have a question?
Maybe Sitelo can
I just wanted to say thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for your patience. My network is really bad. We have a problem with our power cards, but I appreciate to be part of the network, and I'm looking forward to working together with the rest of the community to advance science, technology, engineering, and math, especially for the girl child, as I'm passionately known as the STEM lady, advocating for us girls to take space in STEM. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Sorry, Tosin, I cut you off. Go for it. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. That was amazing. For the next hour, we're going to just be broken down into small groups so you can all meet each other. I know that's what we come to a lot of these conferences for, to connect. So I'm going to put you in small breakout rooms. The first set will be 8 minutes. There'll be a 30-second countdown at the end. If you're in a place where you want to maybe no one's talking or you don't feel the vibe, feel free to leave the breakout room and then come back and put you somewhere else. And I know usually we start the first one. Some people have to run to a meeting, so we'll keep an eye on you, but have fun. Person with birthday closest to January should go first. And here we go.
David, I'm going to be bowing out for the next 45 minutes or so.
Okay, thanks, Marion. And we'll see you a little later. And for those of you that may have just got in, you'll just be placed in rooms as we're doing now.
Good morning, everyone. Are we in our rooms yet, Dave?
You're about to be put in now.
Oh, and
Let me just make sure. Carolyn, you're on mute if you're speaking.
no one seemed to be in the room I was sent to, but also please remind people to speak for 90 seconds and give everyone a chance to speak.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in with Tosin, our head of Witty Bahrain. And Corey, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in a breakout room so you can meet some people.
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay, great. And Jay Howard and Marianne and Shirley, you guys should be assigned. I'm gonna go to one. Hey, Nicole.
Hi.
Hey, Marianne. Okay, Marianne, welcome. Okay, did you get bounced from your room? Was nobody talking? You're on
No,
mute.
no one was on there. There was one
Oh.
person, but they didn't respond. So whatever
Okay.
you can put me into a different break room, that would be great.
Okay, I'm putting you in 6 or 5.
Thank you.
Thank you. You should be good now. You may have to hit that breakout room icon at the bottom. And Nicole, I see no one was in your room, so let me just put you in one. And now you may have to hit that breakout room button too. There you go. Shirley, you with me?
Caroline, I think we may have just joined back the main link, and this may not be a break room, right? You're muted again.
I'm going to send David a note right now.
Okay, thank you.
I just say so.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna have our little breakout room here. Actually, I could put you guys in rooms. Carolyn, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Let me get you. Were you in a breakout room where there was nobody?
We're in a breakout room where there were exactly 2 of us who stayed. 2 people came and went, so.
Yeah, there was
I see.
Caroline, if I may say.
Caroline.
Okay, Caroline and Chaitanya.
So we'll have our breakout room here till this one ends. I think a lot of people might have had to leave for calls. But Dr. Madurka, can you share where you're coming in from and what you do? Are you on the moon or another planet, or looks behind you?
Well, yeah, I would love to be there. But yeah, right now I'm in the background, which is the Earth. So yeah, my name is Dr. Chaitanya V. Murudkar, and I am currently working for T-Mobile. So I'm a part of or representing really T-Mobile here to the VT conference today. This is my first VT conference. So I'm excited about it. I heard a lot of great women speaking, and it has been inspiring. So I hope I can do a little bit in that direction as well. So looking forward to that. I received my PhD in electrical engineering, and sorry, Caroline.
It's okay. It's interesting to hear again. Don't worry.
So, because we just had a little chat, I was telling her that my research focus was in developing the next generation set of organizing communications networks with the synergistic application of machine learning and user-centric technologies. In T-Mobile, I'm currently part of the performance group, which is the end-to-end performance group in the South region. We focus on developing the network, evolving it, and optimizing it on day-to-day basis. 5G is, of course, in the front line right now, so that has been a huge focus for us now. And just regarding this conference, I mean, there's so much new that I have learned, and I would like to see how we can utilize the skills that we are developing in the technical field towards this digital transformation that can be unified to make the planet greener. So, thank you.
Exciting space that you're in. We've been working a lot. Software containers is a new area I've been looking at. And I think that's another way to really help with energy and cutting costs and sustainability. So, you're right.
T-Mobile is sourcing 100% based on renewable energy now. So a lot of things even with T-Mobile that are happening in this area, and I haven't been much aware of it because I'm working in a different part, like on the network. But I want to go back and even see what we are doing, in this area, and then how can we develop further and just educate myself, if nothing else, a bit more than what I know so far. So, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. Everybody's coming back now. All right. I know we had a few people leave for calls, so I'm going to recreate the rooms and then give everybody a chance to meet some new people. Would anybody like to share anything new they learned this morning or in their breakout room?
Well, AJ was about to tell us about a hybrid event that worked really well, but our time was up. I'm wondering if we can extend our time to 12 minutes.
Well, that was 8 minutes. I'll go to 10. But AJ, you're welcome to share that.
She said she would put it in the chat if we don't.
Okay.
I don't see her.
Yeah, very good. All
Yeah,
right.
we were Becky, I think is her last name, Saylor. I mean, she was she was gonna, I guess, talk about the drought that she's in Arizona and how the climate change was also part of it or affecting, but we got cut off too. So I don't know if she'll have time to share that information.
Okay. We'll get more of that. I'm just going to keep things going so you can meet new people. And then on the next break, I'll tell everybody about our next summit that will be hybrid. And we're going to have different kind of get-togethers around the US while still keeping the content in the cloud so everybody can participate. So here we go. We're going to 10 minutes with a 30-second countdown.
Carolyn. Hi, Cheryl.
David,
Mm-hmm.
what time is the next one?
The next session at 9.
At 9? Oh, okay. All right. I'll be on that one then, okay?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. See you.
All right. See you later.
Okay. Bye.
Hello?
David Asher with JD Rarities. How are you?
I'm here if you need me.
All right. Is Nadieli here? Okay. And Nadieli, if you can hear, we're just in breakout rooms. People will be coming back in a couple minutes, and then you'll be able to connect and meet some people.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Here, I'm going to put you in now, okay? So you can spend a few minutes. I just left this group. They're really cool people. You'll like them. So I'm going to move you to 8. Christopher, what's going on?
Hey, great to see you guys. There's been such wonderful conversations in the rooms yesterday and today.
Totally. Yeah, but there's like 2 minutes left with this one. So
Haley was quite good yesterday, too.
Who's that?
Haley was very good yesterday, too.
Yeah, she was great, right? I think that'll be good if we could get that Web3 community rolling. What a time to start the Web3 community. There's nowhere to go but up.
Well, just put on your Spidey Man suit and shoot some Web 3.0 strands out there.
Right. How are things down there?
Good here, yes.
I guess Mike Brown will finally be moving down in March, or not in March, in August.
Well, that would be great. He's been down visiting, but I think he thought he'd be here before now permanently.
Yeah, for sure. And Nadiel, where you come, Nadieli, did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Where are you coming in from?
I'm here from Texas.
What part?
Dallas.
Oh, okay, great. Is this your first Witty conference?
Yeah, it's the first one.
Awesome. How you enjoying it so far?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Very, a lot of topics. It's has been very good.
Excellent. And what do you do there?
I am in the support team. So I do maintenance to applications.
Excellent. Okay, good. Well, welcome. Everybody will be coming back in a few seconds, and
Okay.
then we'll kind of put everybody back in breakout rooms, and you can meet some new people, make some new connections.
Okay,
Hey.
thank you.
Hey, David.
Uh-huh.
I'll just let you know I paused the recording in here for now.
Excellent. Is the